Good morning. Well, hopefully it'll still be good morning by the time you receive this. This is Andrew here from Laing+Simmons Real Estate at Blacktown. I hope you are all well. I hope and trust that your families are safe and you're getting through this time. All right, I'm doing this video for all of our landlords, and I have some really good things to cover today. So just bear with me. I'm just bouncing around my computer screen here because I've got it all written down what I need to talk about. Okay, here we go. So I wanted to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to give you a general overview of everything that's sort of happening in the marketplace and happening with our team as well. That's number one. Number two, I wanted to discuss what could happen or what may happen if we go into a full lockdown. And also number three, what you need to do as a landlord. All right, let's go. So overview, what happens if there's a full lockdown and what you need to do as a landlord. Okay, so as a quick overview, basically over the last week or so, I've started to put my entire team, or all my staff, into two teams, basically a team A and a team B. Team A, basically when they're in the office, team B is working remotely from home. They can still conduct their work, but they just cannot enter the office space. Basically, it's a risk prevention strategy that we've put in place. Obviously in the best interest of everyone. So this week, team B is in. So we've got 50% of our team at the office, and team A is working remotely. Like myself, I'm part of team A, so I'm recording this from home as we speak. Now, let's talk about a couple other things. Repairs. So basically, repairs are still being conducted. We're being a bit smart in encouraging tenants to send in photos, to wherever possible to also send in videos. Those photos and videos can then be passed on to the landlords, yourself, for review, and also across to the tradespeople to try to get them to quote by looking at a photo or a video. So if a repair request comes in for any of your properties, please ask the property manager for a photo or a video. I've asked them to ask the tenant for that. By the way, with regards to repairs, the tradespeople can still view the property. There are some measures that are in place to protect themselves and to protect the tenants. In relation to how many people can go at one time, as in how many people from the trade, and effectively, obviously making sure that they're wearing, be it gloves, be it masks, be it hand sanitizers, etc. All right, the next thing is routine inspections. I had temporarily suspended them about a week ago, but what we're doing is we're in the process of re-establishing them. We're looking into some video software so that if it's possible over the next couple of weeks, what we'd like to do is to schedule the tenants to provide us via WhatsApp, FaceTime, Messenger, all that, Zoom, all those programs, so they can send us a video of it. Now, what we want to be able to do is to sort of say, the tenant holds the phone, and we basically can talk to the tenant and say, okay, could you please turn left? Could you please turn right? Could you please, look up at the downlight there and across to the crack, or whatever it might be. So that way we can instruct them on where they need to go. That will be happening in the next couple of weeks at maximum. So starting next week, we will begin the rescheduling of routine inspections. But routine inspections have only been suspended only for the last week and a half. So they will get back up and running in the next week or two at maximum. Tribunal, now pretty much just on, I guess, process of tribunal and evictions. We're waiting for some proper black and white writing down of what exactly that means. But basically, as we understand it, for the next, 6 months, there are no evictions, as we understand it. So pretty much if a tenant doesn't pay their rent, what we don't know is to what point can we continue to press to get the rent from them as long as they're not affected by the COVID-19. If they're affected by the COVID-19, we do have an application form that we require them to fill out. And then we can present that to yourself. And to my understanding, the government is giving them some assistance as well. But again, this is all getting defined over the next couple of days. It hasn't been officially announced, but it is getting defined. All I can tell you is tribunal is pretty much closed, except on essential basis. Now, we can apply, but at the same time, I can't see it getting in there unless it's something very essential. I believe that's things like domestic violence and so forth. Okay, let me look. Yes, so if you have a commercial property, there's obviously some rules that are coming out now from the Prime Minister in relation to how you've got to work in with your tenant. We have sent emails, numerous emails, giving proper updates to all the landlords. I think the most recent of that was yesterday, so please check your emails. You should be getting all of our updates via email. Basically, what they're encouraging commercial landlords and tenants to do is to work together through this time. Now, as far as I know, several mortgages can be frozen. So if let's say myself, I am freezing one of my mortgages because I have a commercial tenant, so I'm going to freeze my mortgage on that property for 6 months. Honestly, it does mean that I get 6 months extra at the other side, so I'm not really saving anything, but it just means that in this hard period of time, we freeze it, and at least that way it's a bit less pressure on my tenant. Residential, I believe there are lots of options available. So speak to your bank if your tenant has, has not got the ability to pay rent. We will know in the coming days as to what the government will or won't do. But a option for you is to speak to your bank in relation to what can they possibly do to see you through this period of time. And I believe the word mortgage freeze is an option you should be looking at, mortgage freeze. Now, let's keep going. Rent arrears. Guys, I have seen about a 4 to 5% increase in rental arrears over the past week or so. So what that basically means in my world, with my numbers, is that's about another 56 tenants that are now in arrears. Now, we're watching them carefully just to make sure that we can try to keep them as close as possible to 0 days. We don't want them spanning out. We're obviously in contact with everyone that's in arrears daily. And if they're claiming that it's due to the COVID-19, we are requesting copies of documents. And then there's a process behind that. And your property manager knows what that process is. Unemployment, we are receiving an average of about 5 to 6 calls every single day with new tenants being unemployed. So this is definitely a concern, but I believe what we saw in the news last night is potentially a good thing with relation to I think they call it the job seeker payment. I believe that could potentially help a lot of people. So that's getting rolled out as we speak as well. So hopefully that'll help. Generally speaking, when properties are for lease, we're doing videos now, as well as the photos, but we're doing videos, and this enables prospective tenants to have a look online. And we are still doing inspection by appointment. Until there's a full lockdown, we are still doing inspection by appointment. I have 3 leasing agents that are running around showing properties as we speak. Last week alone, they did over 60 inspections privately. So one by one, they did 60 inspections last week, which was phenomenal. We leased, I think it was 9 properties last week alone. But let me tell you guys, the landlords are adjusting their rent. So congratulations to those landlords that are listening to our advice, adjusting their rent by $20, $40, $50, whatever needs to be done. You're better off losing $40 or $50 a week than losing $450 a week. That's for sure. What else? For the month of March, we leased 19 properties. Now, pardon me, correction, that's now 20. but that is down by about 10 coming off February. We leased, I think, 30 or 35. So down a little bit in the amount of properties we're leasing, which is typical of what's going on out there. Basically, lease signings. Now, tenants are still coming in and signing their leases over the counter, but we do have all the technology in place that even if they can't, we can email them a copy of the lease and a copy of the forms to sign. So effectively, they can apply for your property online. Well, they can view it online. They can apply for it online. They can basically sign the lease and everything online. As I said, at the moment, all my staff are in full action. We're just not allowed to do open homes, but we're still showing them by appointments and we're still signing leases and so forth. So my advice, if your property is for lease or it's potentially coming up for lease, I recommend you try to secure a tenant as soon as you can. Okay, what do we got here? I just wanted to, another thing that I did, and I think you should consider the same thing. I had my property manager, Melissa. Lots of you would know Melissa. She's obviously one of the property managers there. She's my property manager for my family properties. I had her contact all of my tenants, firstly of all, to reassure them that we were here to work with them as landlords and that we appreciate everything they do. And just to reassure them that if they were going through some hard times, to get a hold of Melissa and have a talk to us. Some landlords or some people don't agree with that thing. They think that everyone's opportunist, everyone's going to get a price reduction. Well, you know what? I can say this to you. If your property becomes empty and we go into lockdown for weeks and months, I don't know what your opportunity is going to be like to secure another tenant. So if I was you, I'd be working with your tenants really well and getting your property manager to do that. Sales market has dropped significantly. We are still selling some properties, but we're seeing the inquiry starting to drop. The good thing with the sales market is if people are still looking, well, they're obviously pretty damn genuine people. But we're experiencing about 20 to 25% of the inquiries that we normally used to receive, but the quality of that 20 to 25% is up here. Very, very, very high quality. So if you're thinking of selling, please get in touch with the office. We can still sell properties. We can still do all the technological things to make it happen. But at the same time, please be aware that you'd probably be better off doing it sooner rather than later. Okay, let's get into the, oops, I just lost my earphone. Okay, let's get into what happens if there's a full lockdown. If there's a full lockdown, it could be a matter of 2 weeks. It could be 2 months. I don't know. I've never actually seen one or been in one, so I'm only guessing it will be probably 3-4 weeks, I guess, but let's just see. But if there is, okay, first of all, our ability to collect rent is still 100%. So about 90 to 95% of our tenants are paying rent electronically anyhow, number one. For the 3 or 4% that are currently paying over the counter, don't stress. We're already getting a hold of them all right now. And we're setting up other options for them to keep them going if there's a full lockdown. We already have a plan B in place and they're all already getting contacted. Mid-month and end of month will continue as normal. And if there is a full lockdown, there'll be no change to the way we pay bills for you, water rates, council rates, strata rates. Your property manager is working full-time as per normal. You will contact them by email or you can contact them on the direct line. If they don't answer the direct line, don't worry. That voicemail gets redirected to an email to them. Where are we? We've set up a mail redirection just in case of a lockdown. So in the next 2 or 3 days, all the office mail is getting redirected to my house just in case. And yeah, I already explained to you about the direct line. So guys, in summary, if there was a full lockdown, we can still operate. And if you have a look online, most of our properties for lease already have videos on them anyhow. The agents have been arranging that frantically over the last week or so. So all good. Now, what do you need to do? All right, first of all, if your property is vacant right now or is coming vacant, you need to contact your insurer. Can I give you a word of advice? Don't get the agent to do it. Do it yourself. This is very, very important. simply because if it's vacant, what that basically means is some insurers need to be told, or else they will void the insurance. So number one. And if there's any questions, please ask your property manager about that. Number two is my stepmother advised the insurer the other day. Now, it's not our common insurer. She's using someone else. And effectively, they voided her insurance on the spot. So my advice to you is this is probably the best time for you to make sure you're with the two companies we recommend, EBM and Terry Shear. So if you're not already with them, I think you need to have a very good look at the fine lines of your policies. But yeah, so just make sure if it's vacant or coming vacant that they're told, that's for sure. If your property's for lease, here we go. If your property's for lease, I would love you to listen to the advice coming from the property managers. I can see daily the reports between the property managers and what's going out to the landlords in terms of feedback and credit. There's a lot of our landlords that are listening and they are enjoying high occupancy of their properties. What I'm noticing as a common thing is landlords that are not listening to advice, unfortunately, are having less occupancy of their properties and more vacancies. To get straight to the point, guys, if you need to reduce it $30, $50, now I'm going to really exaggerate. I'm going to say $80, $100. Well, you know what? You've got the option to freeze your mortgage anyhow, number one. Number two is, in this time, you really should be reducing your rent to get the deal done, to get the tenant in. And particularly given that we might be going to lockdown any day now, I don't know why anyone would not listen. I want to give particular credit to a particular friend of mine who's also one of our landlords. We manage a property for him in De Castella Crescent. He knows who he is. Basically, he was originally renting his property at a certain figure, and him and I were on SMS last night until very, very late. And I want to thank him very much for taking our advice. He agreed to reduce the rent $30 to $40 a week based upon my advice. And I'm very confident now, and I thank him, and I'm very confident that property will get leased fast. And thank you very much to you. You know who you are. Now, just another thing is for you guys to do. So if it's vacant, contact your insurer. If it's for lease, reduce your rent. Also, have the property manager contact your tenant. Remember that, guys. If you're in contact with your tenant and there's compassion there, work with your tenant. Your tenant is your client. They're not the enemy. Work with them. And also, relax. I've been going through emotional roller coasters over the last week or so. Probably a lot of you have anxiety, stress, fear, all in one. But guys, let's relax. This will be over, and it will be over soon. We just need to be positive. You guys need to work with your bankers. You need to work with your property managers, and you need to work with your tenants. You do that, you'll be fine. But just make sure you're working with your tenants, work with your property manager, and also work with your banker. Take care, everyone. I hope you're all well. Please stay safe. And obviously, you've all got your property managers' direct phone lines and also their direct emails. Now, some people have asked me, why can't we have the property managers' mobile? The reason being is because they deserve a private life as well. And like I said, I have the technology in place that when you call their direct line, that call, if it's not answered, gets diverted into an email. And I do know that all my property managers have their emails on their mobile phones anyhow. And they also have their emails on their laptops, MacBooks, home PCs, etc. That's about all. Take care and talk to you soon. And if there's any more updates on legislation in the next couple of days, I'll let you know. Take care.